What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another Tottenham update today. Quite a bit to get through, and we're going to start off with a really interesting one about PierreEmerick Hojbjerg, as Jason Burt from The Telegraph says that United have been offered the chance to open talks over PierreEmerick Hojbjerg, who Tottenham are willing to sell before Friday's transfer deadline. Atletico Madrid had a bid of £30 million accepted earlier this summer for the 28-year-old. But the move collapsed after a failure to agree personal terms. The Danish international recently also turned down a chance to join the Saudi Pro League despite being offered a highly lucrative salary package of £45 million net of tax over the term of his contract. I mean, this is so contrary to all the reports that we've heard leading up to this point. What we did hear leading up to this point saying Hojbjerg and Atletico's personal terms is no problem whatsoever, and the sticking point has been the price point between Tottenham and Atletico. So this has really come out of the blue, really.
Yeah, I'm absolutely stunned if that's true, that Hojbjerg couldn't agree personal terms with Atletico, which is what led to the deal collapsing, because it makes sense when you think about the money that is in European clubs right now, the fact that the Rodrigo de Paul move fell through and that Atletico Madrid don't have 30 million to spend on Hojbjerg without outgoings. That narrative makes more sense in my mind than the narrative that Atletico have the 30 million to spend on Hojbjerg and they agreed a deal, but Hojbjerg was the one to reject the move to Atletico Madrid, considering that he's not going to be considered a first team starter this season under Postecoglou. He probably isn't the most natural fit for for Ange's system, for Ange's system anyway. So why that would be the sticking point would be something that I really find hard to believe, but he's quite reliable, Jason Burt of The Telegraph, so I do tend to kind of err on the side of believing him. In terms of him going to United, I envisage it being a very difficult deal to do at this stage. Even though we've offered the chance to him, we're still going to want 30 million. Whether United have seemingly balked at a similar price for Amrabat, which I don't understand. So if they're not willing to go that high for Amrabat, why would they be willing to go that high for Hojbjerg, who probably isn't as good a fit as Amrabat for what they want?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really confused about this situation now, because like we've been led to believe something, and then suddenly this report comes off, which is completely the opposite, pretty much, of what we've been hearing. But if it's true and Spurs are offering out Hojbjerg still at this stage of the window, does that tell you that we're trying to make room for a midfielder? Or are we just happy with the options in terms of Lo Celso, Maddison, Sarr, Skip, Bissouma,
Bentancur to come. I do think, well, the rumours are we want to bring in another one potentially. So I would say we're surely only desperate to sell if there's another one coming in, I would have thought. Otherwise, why would we be desperate? But I don't know. It's very confusing, but
because the fact of the matter is he's only got 2 years left in his deal. So I mean, now is the highest price point that we're ever going to get for him.
Yeah, but are we going to get that price point?
Yeah, that remains to be seen.
So like, I think I would only accept 30 million, because I think in a year's time, I think you can still get a good fee for him. You know, you can still get 20 million at least, I would say, for a player of his quality. Depends obviously how much game time he gets this year, but obviously he has seen game time this season. He's been pretty good when he's been involved, so I'm not worried about having him part of the team. So I wouldn't be like try and get him out at all costs. But I guess maybe if there's an opportunity to get 30 million, even from Man United, I guess I would consider it. But it seems as though Tottenham is the one pushing this on Man United rather than them coming in saying we're looking at Hojbjerg. So it's quite an interesting situation, because it's almost as if we're looking to help out Man United, which is a bit of a weird one.
Yeah, I mean,
and I don't want to solve any of their problems that they're having right now.
Does Hojbjerg solve their problems, do you reckon?
Does it solve them? I think it's like a plaster, but I do think it helps them. I do think it helps them. I think he's a good player, and I think you partner him with Casemiro, that would make them a lot more solid in the centre than they are right now. But I wouldn't say he's a long-term solution for them. No, I wouldn't say that.
Yeah, he probably goes in and then they'd probably try and move him on in a couple of years or something like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, I like Hojbjerg. I think he's a good player. I think he's a good player to have around as cover. But it seems as though Hojbjerg's kind of digging his heels in at Spurs and looks like he wants to potentially stay if he's rejecting Atletico.
That's really odd. I'm so surprised if that's true, that he rejected Atletico, unless the wage packet wasn't what he was looking for, maybe.
Yeah, I guess that's the only thing that we can come to. But then again, he's turned down a massive salary at Saudi, but I guess he doesn't want to go out to Saudi and wants to stay in competitive football. But let's talk about Tanguy Ndombele. Simon Jones of the Mail saying that PSG have asked about Tanguy Ndombele at each of the last 3 transfer windows and are now considering another attempt to sign the former France international.
Maybe a loan deal to PSG. I think we've had dealings with PSG before. I remember Dele Alli they came in for when Pochettino was there, and we couldn't agree a deal at the end. But let's hope
we've had failed dealings with him.
Let's just hope. Look, we know they're a club who definitely have the money for him, and they'll probably be able to take his wages on. And they've just let go of Renato Sanchez. There's rumours about Verratti's.
I think that's pretty much done now.
What, Verratti to Saudi? So
no, to Qatari he's gone.
Qatar. So maybe they're looking at Ndombele. I wouldn't say obviously Ndombele is a replacement for Verratti, but maybe they're looking to bolster that position. I think Ndombele knows the French league. He's a player who has high ability. So maybe they're thinking that there's an opportunity there for a loan deal to see how he does. Let's hope that's accurate, but I'm not going to get my hopes up just yet.
Look, if anyone from Paris is watching, you're going to get a great player here in Ndombele.
He's never late.
Never late. He's got absolutely bundles of talent, and he shows it week in, week out. So, look, he's here for you if you want him.
Exactly.
So let's move on and let's talk about Jed Spence. Phil Hay from The Athletic, he's a Leeds correspondent for The Athletic, says that Leeds have already made an approach to take Jed Spence on a season-long loan to Leeds. We've also brought you in the other update that Leeds have made the offer, and there's also interest from France and other championship clubs. And I actually think Leeds is a fairly good move to Spence, because I think Leeds probably going to be at the top end of the championship and likely to get promoted this season. So if he goes to Leeds this season, has a really good year in the championship, then he could be a Premier League player next season.
Yeah, I'm just frustrated on his part, like why he's not getting any more offers, because I know he's had a bad year, but obviously he's showed so much in the championship before we signed him, which convinced us to part with the best part of 20 million for him. And he was really highly sought after. So now I know he's had a bad year. He was at Rennes and he, had an okay loan, but, ended with injury. But you would have thought other Premier League teams would have been in for him. So for him, I think he's going to really want to try not go take a step back again, because he'll feel like if he goes to, I reckon he's thinking, if I go back to the championship, I'm back where I was a year ago, and I don't want to be moving a step down. So I think he's going to hold out for a higher move. But I reckon if it comes deadline day and still nothing in the offing, I don't think that Leeds offer is going to go away. So I think he'll probably take it. But I think for now, I reckon he's still going to hold out.
Yeah, but I mean, as the deadline kind of gets closer, maybe Leeds might move on to different targets if they think Spence is just holding out for a different club. But look, I actually think it'll be a good move for him. But I do kind of think in the back of my mind that there's something else going on here with Spence, because no one seems to fancy him whatsoever after such a great season 2 years ago for Nottingham Forest. So it just seems a bit peculiar to me. Next up, Davinson Sanchez. Simon Jones again saying Davinson Sanchez has drawn interest from Forest, Fulham and Monaco. Do you think a deal will get done at the end for this guy?
I think so. I think someone's going to put in a bid that we'll accept. I think he's not going to be here come the end of the window. And it's frustrating not frustrating, I'm happy about it, because we need to get players out the door to bring in. But it's frustrating he's going to be the one rather than Dyer to let go. But at the end of the day, we need players out. And if it is Sanchez, then I think it's better move on than keep him here and not bring in anyone. So if we get a deal that is acceptable, I think we let him go.
It's a real big frustration for me, to be honest, because we're basically getting rid of a player out of the unwanted players that probably suits the system the best out of all of them. And we're going to be, and players like Eric Dyer are going to be hanging around this squad now, and he's just so not suited, not good enough for this system. So it's just a real big frustration for me that Sanchez is going to go and Eric Dyer is going to stay.
Yeah, if that's what happened. If it means you bring one in, then it's worth it.
Yeah, but I mean, I think we need 4. To be honest, 4 good centre-backs that can step in at any time. And Sanchez, if he's like the lowest of the 4, then I think that's good. But if Dyer is the lowest of the 4 and we're going to have to rely on him at some point of the season because of injuries or whatever, then, I mean, we're selling ourselves short a bit.
Yeah, but you risk not being able to bring anyone in if you don't sell Sanchez.
Yeah. I know. That's the thing.
That's why you got to accept it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, if it came down to it, I know obviously the world doesn't work like this, but I think like if we could keep Sanchez, get rid of Dyer and Tanganga in a perfect world, that I think that's the dealings that we should be doing. And it's just frustrating for me that that's not going to happen. Next up is Sergio Reguilon. Simon Jones says that Reguilon is a player that Tottenham want to offload amid interest from Fulham, Manchester United, and to a lesser degree, Nottingham Forest. And I also think like a deal at some point will get done for Reguilon before the end of the window.
Yeah, I think there should be suitors for him because I think he's a good left back. I know it hasn't worked out at the end for Spurs, although I do think he had his moments. And obviously he was very highly sought after when we did sign him. He parted with best part of 30 million when we signed him, and he was, one of the most talked about left backs around Europe when we did end up getting him. So I think
jumped to United for him, didn't we?
Exactly. So I think he is a good player, and I do think, in terms of what, if you're looking for a left back who likes to bomb forward, support the attack, who can be aggressive and who's quick, I think he's a good left back for you. But the thing is, the way football's moving, a lot of people want a left back who likes to retain the ball, help with the build-up play, and be help out with the midfield as well. That's not really his forte. He's kind of like a bull in the china shop, likes to perform at 100 miles an hour, and also likes to stay wide, and I don't think that's our game anymore. So I don't think he's really suited to Postecoglou. So I think a move is probably best. But I'm surprised that we're getting to the latter stages and there's still no movement for him. I'm guessing the clubs are being smart because they know come the last few days our price will drop because we are desperate to sell him.
Yeah, that's very true. And let's talk about Gio Lo Celso. Matti Moretto says that after today's meeting between Gio's entourage and Tottenham, it is normal for the Argentine to stay in London. Tottenham have reiterated the idea that he will not go out on loan and he will only leave through a permanent transfer. So I do think like he will be here for the coming season.
Yeah, it's exactly what we were saying before. I think absolutely no point loaning him out at this stage, especially if he's willing to stay and be part of this team, and also he can contribute with his quality. So I don't see, there's no point in my eyes loaning him out. If we do get a really good offer and he can go somewhere and actually be a starter, I could understand if he wants to leave and we get good money and then we can look to replace him. So if we get a very good offer on permanent deal, I can see that being accepted, but I don't see that coming in the last few days. It looks like he's going to be staying, and I'm happy about it. I think he's a good player, and hopefully this reintegration can be completed now.
Let's hope so. And let's talk about two potential incoming, starting off with Tosin Adarabioyo. Simon Jones says that Tottenham are now stepping up talks with Fulham for centre-back Tosin Adarabioyo, but will face some competition from Monaco. I'd love to see this deal get done, to be honest.
Yeah, well, look, this is what we heard all summer. Monaco are the favourites, and that's what Tosin wants. But Tottenham are there because we need another centre back, and he's homegrown, so that helps with that. I think it's one where if Monaco's completely off the table, then I could see this moving quickly. But if Monaco's still there, I just think he's holding out for that move at the moment.
Yeah, seems that way. And last but not least, let's talk about some Brennan Johnson news. Tottenham are still considered favourites to sign Brennan Johnson, with the club chairman now in talks with Forest to try and conclude a deal. Brentford submitted a new proposal for Johnson as reported by the Telegraph, but Spurs are still working on the deal with Forest. And then Sammy Mockbell says that Brentford have improved their offer for Nottingham Forest's Brennan Johnson, but Tottenham rated as favourites in the race for 50 million forward. Tottenham and Forest are in direct talks over a transfer for Brennan Johnson, with the expectancy of a formal bid later this week. If Brentford and Spurs can both reach an agreement to sign Johnson, it is understood Johnson would find it hard to turn down a move to play under Ange Postecoglou, who has earned rave reviews since his appointment as head coach. So
there's just been some breaking news as we've been recording. Romano has just tweeted saying Nottingham Forest have decided to reject a formal bid from Brentford for Tottenham target Brennan Johnson. Proposal was 43 million plus add-ons and a sell-on clause, and it's not enough for Forest to give the green light.
That's mad. How is that not enough for Brennan Johnson?
Apparently, yeah, 43 million plus add-ons is not enough. So if that bid is being rejected, and he goes on to say that Tottenham are still interested and had contacts to sign Brennan Johnson, but what kind of fee is acceptable? I mean, if they will need us to go to 50 million plus add-ons and a sell-on?
Maybe it's just the case because we have heard that Nottingham Forest are interested in a couple of our players like Sergio Reguilon and Davinson Sanchez. So maybe it's just the case that they want to do a deal with us because we have some players that they want.
And also could potentially I don't know whether this is true, but maybe Nottingham Forest are going to be in a weird way more willing to sell to us because maybe we're less of a direct rival than Brentford, like Premier League rival. Maybe they see maybe they see Brentford as like a team potentially in the future they can challenge with, and at Tottenham obviously they're not going to be challenging us anytime soon. So maybe they're thinking better to sell to a team we don't believe are catching right now than maybe potentially Brentford, who they could they want to battle mid-table. Maybe they see Brentford as more direct competition potentially, but that is a significant fee, significant rejection from Brennan Johnson. So from Nottingham Forest. So I'm very surprised that kind of fee we're talking about him being rejected. So it kind of puts me off thinking, are we really going to push the boat out and go 50 million plus add-ons for him to really get this deal done?
Like I said, I think some players can be involved in this deal because, like I said, they are interested. Whether if you believe the reports, and 2 of our players. So hopefully we can come to some sort of agreement, and they can take some of the players that they want, and we can take the player that we want.
What, 40 million plus Sanchez and Reguilon?
I'll take that. I would even say something like 35 million plus them 2 would be a good deal. You're getting 2 players there. One was one of the up-and-coming left-backs in Europe once upon a time, only not that long ago. Davinson Sanchez as well. Not the greatest defender, but I think if you put him in a Nottingham Forest side, he'll look pretty good. And then you put some money on top of that as well.
Yeah, potentially. I just wonder what the deal's going to look like. It's going to could be a hefty price potentially. Look, let's see. Depends how much Nottingham Forest value the players that we're offering as well, and whether that's a deal that Levy's willing to accept. Hopefully, I'm happy to, if 35 million plus those 2 players would be great. I feel like it's going to be closer to 40 plus players, and it's a hefty price tag, but if that means getting him through the door and he's our number 1 target, I'm all for it. I don't mind. Look, I've been on record. I've got my reservations on Brendan Johnson about his natural fit to our system. I don't think he's a perfect fit. I think he is right now, the player he is right now, I think he's more of a perfect fit for a more transitional team who like to exploit space rather than team looking to break other teams down. I don't think he's a natural fit for that, but he's still young. I think he can learn, and hopefully Ange can help him develop into a player that is going to be more suited to the way we play. I just worry about his suitability at this current moment, but I do think he's a player with high potential, and I do think he's got good qualities with his pace and finishing ability. So it is a signing I would be excited about, but I think it's a hefty price. Look,
at the end of the day, I think, again, if you're led to believe the reports, this guy is a guy that Ange really wants through the door. So if that's the case, then I really want him as well. I think we need to go in the direction that Ange wants to go in. And if he wants to bring in Brennan Johnson, then I think we should all be for it, to be honest. So that is your Tottenham update for today. Let me know in the comments section below your thoughts regarding all the news stories we brought to you today. Tomorrow will be another day packed of transfer news. So we'll see you all there. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.